Hello, and welcome to Steph Doll. I am, freezingly, Steph, and this video is part of my Make It Work series in which I customize a doll using only supplies I already have on hand. This time I'll be making a very seasonally appropriate doll inspired by snow and frost. Let's go! Abby Abominable from Monster High will make the perfect base. I actually got this Abby in an eBay lot way back in like 2015 or 2016 when I first wanted to try doll customizing, but I just didn't have the time or energy back then. And this is how she came, so she must have belonged to another customizer. It's high time this poor doll got a makeover. I heat up her head with my hairdryer, which softens the vinyl and makes the head easier to remove. I like her hair and I would have loved to keep it, but it feels really gross and the white has yellowed over time, likely due to glue seepage, so it needs to go. Oddly enough, there was no remaining glue inside the head. I have never run into that before. Even though her face is already gone, I'll still wipe the head down with acetone. I want to make sure that all of the factory paint is gone, including the paint on the scalp, which also has yellowed over time. Then I clean the head with isopropyl alcohol to remove any remaining acetone residue. I paint the scalp white and seal it in with matte Mod Podge. I found this silver moon nylon in my doll hair stash left over from when I made Borealis a couple of years ago. I'll be using my hand drill as a reroot tool this time, into which I put a needle with the top of the eye snipped off at an angle. I find nylon hair easier to manage when it's damp, so I spritz the hank with water and comb it through periodically. To reroot, I peel a few strands of hair away from the hank, wrap it around my finger, scoop it up with the needle, and plunge it into the head. And I repeat these steps many, many, many times. I start with the hairline and then I work my way in, mostly using the existing holes. I ended up using every last bit of that nylon to finish this reroot. Once the head is full, I squeeze some all-purpose glue into the neck hole and use a cotton bud to spread the glue around and make sure that all of the hair plugs are coated. Then I let it dry overnight. I gave her a boil wash off camera to set the part. I section off the hair for her fringe before masking off her hair with a cloth. And after a couple of coats of Mr. Super Clear UV cut flat, waiting 30 minutes in between each layer, she's ready for a new face. The MSC gives the vinyl a paper-like texture so that my watercolor pencils and chalk pastels have something to grip onto. Because it's been super cold here lately, I tend to get a bit less mileage out of my MSC. I can't build up as much color on each layer as I normally can, but I do my best. I finish off every single layer with a dusting of macropearl PearlEx powder to really build up a frosty look to her skin. Since her hair is pale silver, I brush on white pen pastel as a base for her eyebrows, using a kneaded eraser to refine the shape. In subsequent layers, I'll also add shades of light blue and a metallic silver to give them a bit more depth. My color palette for this doll is pink, purple, and blue, so I'll be avoiding using black and opt for shades of blue instead for her eyeliner and lashes. I also decided to leave her pupils white for some reason. Don't know why, but I like how it looks. I add highlights to her face with light blue pan pastel. Since I kept her pupils white, I decided to use a silver Posca pen for her catch lights, and also added a couple of dots next to the outer corners of her eyes. And for a little extra sparkle, I added some iridescent glitter, which is aptly called snow, to her temples. I brush on a bit of water, then dab on the glitter flakes. This doesn't adhere them permanently, but it does keep them mostly in place until I spray another layer of MSC. Next time I would probably use a bit of gloss varnish or some matte medium to stick the glitter on a bit more. After one final dusting of sparkle, the face-up is done. This is the unfinished first dress I tried making. I initially couldn't find white cotton in my stash, but I thought this cream color would be okay with a layer of sequin fabric, a pink rainbow crystal organza over the top of it, and I hated it. It just wasn't looking how I wanted. It looks crunchy and weird. So I ditched it and started over with some pink fuzzy fabric and the white cotton I eventually found, and it looks a lot better. This is Dollightful's asymmetrical dress pattern, by the way. For the underskirt, I made the base out of white cotton and the ruffles out of purple and blue rainbow crystal organza, so I still got to use the fancy sparkly organza, and that makes me happy. I also made her a hooded cape using another Dollightful pattern. It's purple fleece with some of the blue crystal organza on the borders and some simple embroidery with metallic silver thread. It's just cross stitches, but it looks real nice. For a closure, I decided to use some silver ribbon. I had these Ever After high boots in my stock box, and I think they'll be perfect after some painting. I gave them a base coat of pale pink acrylic paint. I paint the straps purple and all of the fur details and the soles white. After all of the initial colors were down, I carefully touch up the edges to make sure all of the details pop. And it was at this point I decided the soles should be silver, so I painted them silver. I mixed matte Mod Podge with micropearl and macropearl PearlEx powder to give the boots a nice frosty finish. Off camera, I also added a coat of gloss varnish to the silver soles, and I forgot to film that. I paint her nails purple and then seal them in with the same sparkly Mod Podge mixture. I also added gloss varnish later, but again, forgot to film that part. Don't know why. I'm great at YouTube. I carefully cut her fringe and softened the blunt cut by point cutting. I ended up doing most of the finishing off camera as it was kind of difficult to film. One of these days I'll figure out the right camera setup for that, and I don't know when that will be, but sometime. Then I could heat up the head again and put it back on the body. It's been a while since I've done it, and I felt it would suit this doll, so I decided to gloss her eyes and lips. So now we have the doll, her dress and skirt, her cape, and her boots. All that's left to do is get her dressed, and she's done. For her name, I looked up the words for frost and snow in other languages, and I found the Finnish word for snow, which is Lumi, L-U-M-I. And considering how sparkly she is, a name that sounds like luminance really fits. What do you think of Lumi? And what's the weather like where you are? It's pretty cold in Northern Ireland right now, though we haven't gotten any snow just yet, just a lot of rain and ice. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and click the bell icon to turn on all notifications so you'll know whenever I post a new video. All my social media will be linked down below. I'm most active on Instagram, and I'll be streaming on Twitch fairly soon. I may have already done my first test stream by the time this video goes up, but I'll keep you all posted about future streams in my community tab. And if you really like what I do and you want to buy me a coffee, there are now 2 ways you can do that. You can now use the super thanks button below the video here on YouTube, or you can find a link to my Ko-fi tip jar in the video description. And until next time, bye!